What is going on, guys? My name is Derek. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are doing a how to get started streaming masterclass. What we are going to show you is how to get started streaming. Everything from what kind of computer you need, what software you need, how to set up OBS or Streamlabs, literally everything you would need to know to go from zero to having a stream running on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, wherever. Also, if you kind of already know a little bit about streaming and stuff and you're already streaming a bit, this video might not be for you, or at least you might have to skip around and find stuff or whatever, or maybe you just want a refresher and you should watch the whole thing. If this video does help you out, this masterclass, so to say, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and get your ass in the live streams over on omgitsderek.tv.
Daddy, chill.
All right, but with that said, we are going to roll the intro and then we are going to jump right in this and get going. All right, guys, so the very first thing that we need to talk about before we even get into the software you need, how to get things set up on your computer, all of that type of stuff, is we need to know, can you stream? Do you have a computer that will allow you to live stream? We also need to discuss, where are you going to start live streaming? Are you going to start on Facebook? Are you going to start on YouTube? Are you going to start on Twitch? I'm going to help you try to figure out which platform you should start on. First things first, what kind of computer do you need for streaming? If you have an NVIDIA graphics card, and basically starting with the 6000 series, we're going to go ahead and switch over to the desktop view. The GeForce 6000 series, that's when NVIDIA started including NVENC cards. Now, the NVENC chip in those 600 series cards, as well as the 1000 series cards, so like the 1050 Ti, the 1060, 1070, 1080, 1080 Ti, all the Ti's, you can use them, especially the 1000 series. You can use them if that's all you got, but they're not that great. They don't stream at a quality that is better than your CPU. And now we have the 3000 series graphics card, and whenever you're watching this video, maybe there's a 4000 or 5000 or 6000. Whatever the case may be, once you hit the 2000 series cards, the NVENC chips are good enough and better than using your CPU to do the processing. So you don't even need that great of a CPU as long as you have a newer NVIDIA graphics card. To make sure 100% that you do have an NVENC card, it's really easy. Just go to Google and type in, does the 1050 Ti have NVENC? FYI, NVENC on 1050 Ti is the same as NVENC on 1080, same encoder software. One isn't going to be better than the other. And that's true too. Doesn't matter if you have a cheaper end card or a great card. The NVENC is going to be the same across that line of cards whenever the upgrade was done. There's different versions, as I'm saying, in the 600 series, the 1000 series, the 2000 series, the 3000 series. And if you do a search on NVIDIA NVENC and get to this Wikipedia page, which I will link, I will try to remember to link it down in the description below, but it's basically wikipedia.org/wiki/NVIDIA_NVENC. You can see the entire GPU hardware that has NVENC, and you can see the generations that it has, as well as what that allows you to do. So it allows you to do H.264. Back on the 600 series, there was one NVENC chip on there. It allowed you to do Chroma 420. That means like basically how much color is displayed. And as you can see, as you get higher and higher, you can do more. But what you need to know is if your NVIDIA card has NVENC, and if it does, then that is what you will use to stream, and you will be able to stream. As long as your computer can handle playing video games, then you won't have an issue streaming, because with the NVENC chip, it doesn't take resources from your CPU or your graphics card, unless you do some fancy stuff with the settings to make it use more than it needs to. But for the most part, it'll use that NVENC chip, so you won't take a performance hit on your CPU, and you won't take a performance hit on your GPU. If you don't have NVENC, then there is a recommendation of Twitch of what kind of processor you need or higher. If we go to Google and type in "can my PC handle," you'll see right here, the first one that comes up. The minimum specs for a streaming PC are at least an Intel Core i5-4670 processor, or its AMD variant, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and Windows 7 or newer, unless you're on a Mac. Macs suck for streaming. Don't try to stream on a Mac.
Do I look like I give a It's not Apple, so it's...
All right, so that's like basically the minimum you need in terms of processor. If you have an AMD graphics card, you're going to want to use your processor to do the streaming. So you are going to take a CPU hit. But again, as long as you have an Intel Core i5 4670 or higher, or its AMD equivalent, you should be able to live stream with your CPU. And I will show you guys when we get into the actual software how you would set that up, whether you're going to use NVENC or whether you're going to use your CPU, some of the best settings to use, everything like that, and we'll get you rolling in that regard. But we will get to that eventually. The second thing is, where do you want to stream? So you have a couple different options nowadays. When I first started live streaming, there was only Justin.tv. People started live streaming gameplay, and then it spun off the gaming content from Justin.tv into Twitch.tv, which is what we have today. A little bit of history for you. So if you want to stream to Twitch, that's cool. If you want to stream to YouTube, that's cool. If you want to stream to Facebook Gaming, that's cool. Totally up to you to decide where you want to stream. You can also stream to all of them using a service like Restream.io, which allows you to set up different destinations, as you can see here on the screen. You can set up Facebook Live, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can set up all these different channels, destinations, and you can stream to all of them at once. Or even Streamlabs has a stream to every platform at the same time, but I believe it costs money. Now, recommendations of where to start? You're definitely going to want to choose YouTube for a couple reasons. Starting on any platform, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, live streaming, you're probably not going to get a lot of eyes on your content. None of those platforms are going to push your live stream that hard, especially Twitch. YouTube and Facebook, maybe a little, but even them, on a new channel, just throwing out live streams and stuff, you're not going to start getting views on your live streams very much. They just don't push them out that much. You have to realize first and foremost that if you want to be a live streamer, one thing you're going to have to realize is you have to become a content creator, not just a live streamer. So with that said, after we figure out whether our computer can handle it and what platform we're going to stream to, the next thing we're going to want to do is decide what software we're going to use to stream. There are two different softwares out there that are used for streaming. There's actually more, but there's two to choose from. So your options are OBS Studio or Streamlabs OBS. OBS Studio is a open source software that was released years and years ago specifically for live streaming on the internet. Streamlabs basically started off as a alert software, like allowed people to do donos that triggered stuff on stream, as well as, get alerts for like your followers. And then what they did is they ended up taking the open source OBS Studio software and they kind of turned it into their own little jam, added a couple of their own features. Honestly, all they really did is made it so that it was tied in with their alert system and everything so that it's easier to use. So I would argue Streamlabs is easier for a novice, a beginner, to get set up with and to start using. But I would argue that OBS Studio is the better option, and it's worth taking the time to learn it. The only other thing you might want to consider is those alerts I was talking about. So alerts allow you, like if you get a donation, it allows, donations to pop up on your stream. It allows, when a new follower comes, it allows all of that type of stuff to pop up on streams that you see happening on most streamers' streams. I personally recommend StreamElements.com because, again, I'm not a big fan of Streamlabs, but you could use Streamlabs even if you use OBS Studio and not the Streamlabs OBS software. If you're going to start live streaming, the software you need, OBS Studio. Got it for Windows, Mac OS 10.13 plus, or Linux. Again, you need, supports Windows 8.1, Windows 10, and Windows 11. If you're trying to stream on Mac or Linux, you could probably do it, but I can't really help you too much there. But I would not suggest it personally. I would suggest, having a Windows PC. Any kind of gaming is going to be better on a Windows PC. Linux can do some gaming, yes, I know, and it's definitely gotten better, and Steam supports it and all kinds of stuff. But as of today, Windows is the best option. Last but not least, the only other thing you might want is, overlays and graphics pad for your alerts and just, for your live stream and all that, like the transition you guys saw when I moved from my camera to the desktop, all of that stuff. There are two websites, nerdordie.com as well as owned.tv, and that's owned with a 3 instead of the letter E. And you can basically go through here and they have stream overlays. So you can see like full stream packages, which have, everything in it. So like Sticker Bomb, Stream Pack, Flat Pack, Stream OS, Synthwave, which is what I'm using. And you can see they're not that expensive. It's a great way to get started. The other nice thing about Nerd or Die and Own.tv I should mention is, even though a lot of people buy these packs, the cool thing about almost all of them is you can adjust all of the colors and all of the elements to your own style. So you might have 20 streamers using the Synthwave package. All of those different streams could look entirely different. That's really all you need to get started. And then you're going to install OBS, and then we will walk through how to set up OBS, and then you'll get rolling with there. All right, so you installed OBS Studio. Some of you might have decided to download Streamlabs OBS. And guess what? Because I love you, we will go over Streamlabs OBS next. Although, everything's pretty much the same. We have OBS loaded up. We close out of the easy setup crap. And here we go. First, let's take a look at File. File has Show Recordings, Remux Recordings, Settings, Show Settings Folder, Show Profile Folder, always on top, and Exit. Show Recordings opens up where your saved recordings are. So wherever in the settings we decide to save recorded files, not streaming files, but recorded files, like is what I'm doing right now. I'm not streaming. I'm using OBS Studio to record a video, to basically screen capture. Remux recordings. You can choose to record a recording in .mkv format, which allows you to have multiple audio channels. What that means is when you go to edit the video inside Adobe Premiere or DaVinci Resolve or whatever program you may edit in, it allows you to have up to 6 different audio tracks. So you could have your music on one track, your microphone on another track, your teammates' mics on another track, like Discord or whatever. And that way you can edit the volumes and the audio of each device separately in the recording after the fact. So in post-processing in Adobe Premiere or whatever. So that's what Remux Recording does, which is something we can get into again later, but just explaining what to do. Settings, that's going to be all the settings that we're going to need to set up for actually live stream. So this settings button here under File is the exact same setting button down here that you can click on in the bottom right corner of OBS. Show Profile Folder is your individual profile. Like you can have inside of OBS different profiles that allow you to, like you could have a main profile, which allows you to stream to, let's say, YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. Then maybe you have a separate one for TikTok, since TikTok's vertical, or Instagram Live, or whatever you might want to stream to. You can basically set up different profiles that allow you to have different settings and stuff for each profile. Scene collection, same thing. So you can have like my main profile. And then you can see here I have one called Synthwave. This is the one that I normally use. It has my starting screen already. My ending screen has all my different scenes and everything. And then this is the one I did to do for this video that kind of starts everything back out at the normal. That way we can go over everything. Automatic scene switcher is it automatically when something happens. So let's say you're playing a game like League of Legends where it has a launcher window and then it has the actual in-game window. You can set up automatic scene switcher so that when it detects the program switching from one thing to the other, when OBS sees that that program is now open, it'll automatically switch to another scene that you have set up. Next, we have down here in the bottom left, we have scenes. So they're the different scenes that you're going to have for your live stream. So what kind of scenes are we talking about? So as you can see, I have streams starting down here. It has my socials, my YouTube channel, OMG It's Derek, my Twitter, OMG It's Derek, my Twitch, OMG It's Derek TV. It has like a background image. It's animated. It has a timer that I can start, which I'll show you how to do all this. But you can see it has all of that different stuff built in. But then I also have scenes set up for other things. So I have an end scene, which has a lot of the same elements, but it has a different graphic. Instead of it saying stream starting, it says stream ending. And then we have a just chat and screen, which has a chat box up, has just chat in the corner. Again, a lot of the things are reused because across the different scenes, I'm using the same Synthwave package, but each scene just basically allows me to do something else during my stream, and I can easily click these to go from one or the other. Or if you're using something like a Stream Deck, I can even do it remotely just by hitting a button on my Stream Deck. That's what your scenes are. It also allows you to create supports or scenes that you can pull into other scenes that have stuff. So for example, I have support stacks. Like if I want to have latest subscriber, top donation, latest cheer, latest follow, I can have these all in a scene, and then I can actually add those within another scene by adding here scene. And then I can add those support scenes. So basically it allows you like things that you might use a lot of and on a lot of different scenes, you can set up kind of as their own little scene. And then you can use those inside of other scenes, which is kind of cool. So the way that we do this, let me go back to our setup OBS, is we have down here at the bottom left, under our scenes, and you start with a default scene, we have a plus, a minus, and an up arrow and a down arrow. So we click the plus arrow, or the plus sign, and that's going to say add scene. Please enter the name of a scene. Scene 2. Boom. Now we have 2 different scenes, which one of them might be a start-in scene and the other one might be our game stream. And that might be all you have to start off. That's okay. You can always add on more as you go. Well, let's add one more. We'll add a scene 3. So we're going to have a first scene, a second scene, and a third scene. So to make this easier on us, we're going to right click and we can rename these. And you know what? We're going to decide that's all we need to start. We're going to make a stream starting screen, and then we're going to make an in-game screen. So the minus button down here is how we remove a scene. Yes or no, we would hit yes. Or you can right click on the scene and hit remove here. Same thing. Are you sure you want to remove scene 3? We're going to hit yes. So we have our stream starting and we have our in-game. You can have as many scenes as you want. Your sources is going to be all of this stuff you see inside of your scene. So for example, if we go back to my synthwave one, this is the one I actively use on screen. If we go to like the scene starting, for example, you can see here are my alerts, my sources. So if someone subscribes on YouTube or follows on Twitch, an alert pops up on stream, which we'll get to how to do that in this video. My social media icons, which are all in a folder, which you can do by, add in a folder. But that's all of this stuff at the bottom here. They're all that way they're all in a folder so that I can move them all in one thing. Control Z or edit undo. We can redo and undo stuff. Well, if we move it and we're like, I want to put that back where it was. Boom. There you go. You can also, I want to make sure that this social media is centered horizontally. Boom. It wasn't. Now it is though. So it's perfectly centered now vertically. You can also do that horizontally to show it. You can also see I have a timer added here. You can see I have the stream starting image, which is this image here, which can be moved around again. Control Z to put it back. And you can see we have our background image added here. So these are all different sources, which means a source is I want you to grab an image, a video, a website, whatever from this source, either a place on your hard drive or from an actual website or something like that. So we have stream starting. What we're going to do is, again, down here under the sources, just like under the scenes, you have plus, minus, you have a gear icon, you have up, down. So we're going to click the plus button and you're going to be presented with all of these different options. When you click plus on scene, you just get a box that says, hey, give this a name. When you click on sources, you have all kinds of different sources. You have audio input capture, which would be like a microphone. You have audio output capture, which would be like, let's say you have Discord set up to a separate audio output track. You could do that. You have browser, which would be a URL, a browser source, meaning a URL, a website that you want to capture. You have a color source. You have a display capture, which would be your monitor. You have game capture, which would be your game that you're playing. You have image, so you can bring an image in, image slideshow. Media source, which would be like anything video-wise or animated. Open VR capture. This is if you're doing VR games. It's a thing for VR games. This isn't in OBS by default. At least it wasn't when I added it. It was something you had to add in. Scene. Again, you can put a scene inside of a scene if you want to make like support scenes like I was talking about earlier. Text, if you want to add text, you can either do a file or you can just type it. So you can add text. You can add video capture device. Basically, any kind of capture device that's capturing something into the computer, whether that's a webcam, whether that is a cam link, whether that is a capture card. This is how you add them. Window capture is adding an individual windows. So let's say I have a program like this FileZilla, which is an FTP program for uploading files to an FTP server. If I wanted to add just that in, I could use the window capture, and it would only capture that instead of my entire desktop window. So that is what all of those do. And group just allows you, it's a folder, just how, like, again, in the synthwave, I have all my social media. I have it all added in: text, images, text, image, text, image. I have them all where I want them, and then also the graphic, which is these little boxes that are animated. I have them all added in, and then I put them inside of a group so that I'm able to move the whole thing as one piece. So again, that's something you can do as well. Scene transitions. This is how when you click from one scene to the other, you can do fade, you can add a swipe, a slide, a stinger, fade to color, a luma wipe. So you have a couple different options, a cut. If you use a stinger, which is like something a little more advanced, like in the synthwave, when I go from scene starting, like when I click on another scene, you kind of see this graphic happen. That is using a stinger, which is a video, again, a video file that I'm using, which if we go to the properties of that, you can see here, it's using a video file to do that. And then the time is all setting here. So I have it takes 1,000 milliseconds for that to happen, or 1 second for that train, because that's how long the video file is. Your audio mixer, there's going to be nothing here set up at the start. Once we get into settings and add stuff, we're going to have audio stuff, and then we'll go through the audio stuff once we get it set up. But then you're good to go there. And then on the right side here, we have our controls. We have our start streaming, start recording, start virtual cam, studio mode, which just gives you a preview, and then program, so you can actually see something beforehand, and until you push it to the program, it doesn't actually go live. I don't really think it's necessarily use studio mode that much, but it's there if you want to do some fancy stuff. What we want to do next is go into our settings, and we are presented with all of the settings in OBS, which is what we need to actually get, to set up everything so that we can then live stream. Under the general tab, you have an automatically check for updates on startup. A lot of people turn this off because sometimes, when a new update first comes out on OBS, there can be some issues with it. It can cause some problems. I've seen where people have upgraded their OBS, then they do a live stream and their live stream is broken. Things are broken in their live streams. So a lot of people choose to leave this unchecked and they update by themselves. Personally, I never have any issues with the automatic updates, so I leave them on. Open stats dialog on startup just shows you different stats for OBS and stuff. Again, it's not really something you'll ever really use. Hide OBS windows from screen capture. This would be like your OBS windows. If you're using the display capture in OBS, it'll make it so that OBS doesn't appear inside of that window. Let's say you only have one monitor and you have OBS in the background and you want to alt tab out of your game, but you're using display capture for whatever reason and not game capture in your scene, but you don't want it to show up. If you have this checked, the OBS won't show on the screen capture, but you can still obviously do what you need to do. Show confirmation dialogues. This is just when you start a stream, stop recording. It just gives you like a little dialogue confirmation like, hey, you're now streaming, you're now not streaming. Automatically record when streaming. The reason you might want to record while you're streaming is when you stream, you are streaming at a lower bit rate or maybe even a lower resolution than you may want to have for going in and actually editing that video later. So again, we're going to be making content out of our live streams. And so to do that, we can pull the file from Twitch or YouTube or Facebook. And that might be a 1920 by 1080 video file at 6,000 kilobytes per second. If you know anything about videos and stuff, 1080p at 6,000 kilobytes per second, it's fine, but it's really not that great. Bit rates can, like when you record with a professional camera, like I'm using a DSLR to record myself right now. Some DSLR cameras and mirrorless cameras and stuff, they can record at, let's say, like 4K 100 megabits per second. So you might want to, let's say, stream at 1080p, but you might want to record at 4K, and you might want to record at 25 megabits per second. That might be something that you want to have turned on so that when you start streaming, it automatically also records that video file for you. So stream. So now when you open up, it used to be that you always had to put in your own server and then your stream key that you had to get from Twitch or YouTube or Facebook, wherever you were streaming from. Nowadays, you don't have to. you can just connect your account. So once you log into your service, whether again that's YouTube, Twitch, Restream, whatever, and then you hit apply, you're going to see these windows pop up, which is going to be like, for example, if it's Twitch, it's going to be your Twitch chat. If it's YouTube, it's going to be your YouTube chat. For me, it's Restream, so it's going to be my Restream chat, all of that. You can close them by clicking the X. You can also dock these if you want to dock them and keep them somewhere. I don't really need to dock either of these, so I'm going to close them. I do want to keep my chat, so I'm going to click and drag it over here. You can see there's plenty of places you can dock, but I'm going to dock it on the right side of my preview window there. And then also, you can also do custom browser docks, which allow you to have different docks, which you can see here. So like this is my Stream Elements activity feed, as well as my channel points. So these are Twitch channel points. I can see my redemptions and click redeem here. And this is my alerts that I was talking about with Stream Elements. So I can have all of those different things docked in. So when you log in, like I said, with the settings and you connect your account, YouTube or Restream, don't stream to just Twitch. Like I said, you can choose what to dock here. And then if you want to add other stuff, you can go to custom browser docks and you can, give it a dock name in the URL, and then it'll, pop up in here. Then it'll be under your docks right here that you just, if you want to hide them, you click that check. If you want to show them, you click that check, and boom, you now have your account set up. So your chat and whatever else you may need set up here. Again, when we get into the Stream Elements and stuff, you'll understand how to actually add this. But to do it, the URL that you're going to need, you're like, I don't know the URL yet. I can't add it. That's fine. Right now, you might just have a chat window. But for future, once you know where the URL is, come back to custom browser docks. That's how you add this stuff into your OBS so that you can have everything neatly put into one. So after we do that, server auto detect, that's fine. We're then going to go to output. So output is going to start at simple. We're going to want to switch to advanced, which is going to give us way more options and tabs and stuff. This is where we're going to select all of our quality settings, as well as our resolutions, as well as what we're streaming with, and all of that stuff. So first things first, we have a tab for streaming, a tab for recording, a tab for audio for our different tracks. We have up to 6 tracks inside of OBS, as well as our replay buffer, which again, enable replay buffer. That's the maximum replay time. That's where I said if you want to be able to go back 30 seconds, you can set how long you want the replay buffer to do when you click the button to save the replay. You would determine that in here. But then you also got to make sure when you start streaming, you click the start replay buffer down here, or back under that general, automatically start replay buffer when streaming here. And it is going to use some memory. So the higher you go up, so let's say you do, 5,000 seconds, it's going to use estimated 9,512 megabytes of memory. So under the streaming tab, the first thing you're going to choose is what audio track your stream is getting audio from. Let me just explain it. Then I'll show you guys again in advance later. But just remember, this is where you set the audio track for your live stream. Normally for your live stream, the best audio track to use is audio track 1. However, you could use audio track 6 or any of them. But most of the time you want to leave this at 1, and I'll show you why again later once we get into the audio. But we will have everything that you want that your stream to hear. We will put on audio track 1 inside OBS, and then that's going to let them hear all of those different things. Your microphone, your desktop audio, your game volume, your Discord. Everything that we want our stream to hear is going to get placed on audio track 1 eventually, once we add all those different sources. Your encoder is where you choose whether you're going to encode with NVIDIA NVENC or X264. NVIDIA NVENC is that NVENC chip that is built into NVIDIA graphics cards that I was talking about previously in the video, and X264 is your CPU. So encoder, if you have NVIDIA graphics card that has NVENC, that's what you're going to want to select here. And then we have this rescale output. Rescale output is right here under the video tab on the left side. We can set our base canvas resolution, which is the resolution of this black screen that we're working with. And then we can output scale our resolution here if we want. But if you want your recording and your stream to be 2 different resolutions, then you're going to want to have your base canvas resolution set to 4K. Your output scaled resolution set to 4K. And then here under your output for your stream, you're going to want to rescale to 1080p. Sometimes people will tell you to rescale your resolution here, which you can, but if you have 4K set here and you have 1080p set here, that's going to set the resolution of not only your stream to 1080p, but your recorded file as well. So if you're trying to grab a higher resolution recorded file, you don't want to downscale here. I would just recommend setting your base resolution at 1080p. If you then want to rescale things, like let's say you want to do a 720p stream or even a 540p stream, because you don't have that great of a CPU, then again, you would want to do that under here, not under here, because you might want to still capture your recording as 1080p. Your downscale filter, the higher you go up, the more CPU resources it's going to take. If you're using NVENC, you can go ahead and max this out. It doesn't matter. If you're using CPU, it doesn't take that much additional resources. So if you can max it out, go ahead and do so. If you are downscaling, it's going to make the downscale look better. If you're not downscaling at all, this doesn't even matter. It doesn't affect you. If your base resolution is 1080p, you're live streaming at 1080p, you're recording at 1080p, all this stuff, that doesn't matter. And here is where you set your FPS. So whether you want 30 FPS, 60 FPS, you could even do 29.97, like if you want to get all fancy, or 59.94. But for most people, 30 or 60 FPS. Again, that depends on your setup, whether or not you're able to do 30 or 60 FPS. You're going to have to fool around with it. If you're using NVENC, you should be able to do 1080p 60 FPS, no problem. If you're not and you're using your CPU, you're going to have to mess with it, which we will get into a little bit more when we talk about using the X264 encoder here. So that's our video settings. And then next, we have to set our settings for our stream. Like this is the quality for the live stream, not for the video that we may want to record or the replay buffer, but just for the live stream since we're under the streaming tab. What you're going to want to set this to for NVENC is constant bitrate, CBR, 6,000 kilobytes per second. That is 6 megabits per second. So that is your upload speed. If you do not have fast upload, you might have to go to lower speed. So you might have to go like 3,000 kilobytes per second, which would be 3 megabits. Like let's say you have 5 megabits upload speed because you live in an area of the United States or wherever you live that just doesn't have great internet. Obviously, you cannot do the max of 1080p 6,000 kilobytes per second, which is what Twitch allows. So, the max you would be able to do is 5,000, but you also need some headroom for, your Discord calls, your games, all of that. So you might only want to do 4,000 or 3,000. If you're going to go lower than 6,000 kilobytes per second, you're going to want to drop down from 1080p to 720p. 1080p at, 4,000, 3,000, 5,000, like it's just not going to look that great. You'd be better going to 720p at that point. But this is where you set your bit rate, which is how much upload speed you need. If you're using YouTube, you can do all the way up to a 4K at 60 FPS stream and do a video bit rate of 20,000 to 51,000 kilobytes per second if you have the internet as well as the computer to handle it. The biggest problem is going to be, are your viewers actually going to be able to watch your stream? Because are they going to have the internet to be able to download that much data? So it's not really recommended. But what I would recommend is if you're doing a 1080p stream on Twitch, I would do 6,000 kilobytes per second. On Facebook at 1080p, I would do 6,000 kilobytes per second. At YouTube, I would go up to a max of 10,000 kilobytes per second. I wouldn't go any higher than that. And honestly, even with YouTube, you might just want to do 6,000. That way you make sure even people in the United States or elsewhere in the world that don't have the best internet are still able to watch streams, because especially if you're not partnered or affiliate or anything like that, not everybody on all of these platforms get automatic live encoding. Like let's say you watch a YouTube video and in the bottom right, you can change the quality from, let's say it's a 4K video, you could watch it in 1080p or 720p or whatever. Not everybody gets that option when you're live streaming off the start. For the quality, if you're using NVENC, you can choose max quality. For the profile, you can choose high. You want both look ahead and psychovisual tune-in checked. You want your GPU set to 0. This is if you have multiple GPUs. So if you have a second GPU in your system that for whatever reason that you want to use for streaming instead of your first GPU, you could change this to 1, 0 or 1, 1 being your second GPU. And then for max B frames with look ahead and psycho visual tuning checked, you want max B frames of 4. If you use quality, it won't use any more than just the NVENC chip to do the encoding. If you choose max quality, it could also use part of your graphics card's CUDA cores and stuff, which would mean that your graphics, your in-game FPS would take a hit. That is my understanding of it. If you're using X264, again, almost everything else is the same. Your audio track would be the same. You could choose which one you want to use. I would recommend 1. Your rescale output is where you would if you're, let's say your base resolution's at 1080p, but then you want to scale at 720p because your CPU is not that great. This is where you would do it. Again, your rate control, CBR, and your bit rate here, you would change 6000 or whatever. This doesn't matter in terms of your encoding of the stream. If you have this set to 2500 or 6000 or 10,000, this isn't going to use more or less of your CPU. Do 720p to take less of a hit on your CPU, but still do 6,000 kilobytes per second if you have good internet and you want a better looking stream, because the higher the bit rate, the better looking the stream is going to be. So we're going to say 6,000 because we're going to assume we can do 1080p at 60 frames per second because that's what we want to do. And then your keyframe interval, again, you can leave it at 0, which is auto, but all the services require 2. So in my opinion, you might as well change it to 2. And then your profile and your tune. The tune, let me talk about the tune first because it's nothing important. The tune is just basically like putting on different, so film, animation, grain. Like you can basically, it's like a filter basically. Profile is baseline, main, or high. I wouldn't worry about this either because what is going to determine what, like if you change this, like some people will say, oh, change this to main or high or whatever. Sure. If you change it to high and you're at very fast, the quality of your stream is going to look a little bit better. But if you leave this off and you can go down to from very fast to faster or to fast, it's going to look way better. So basically, higher equals less CPU. So ultra fast is going to use less of your CPU than very fast, but your stream's going to look shittier. Very slow is going to use a lot of your CPU, but it's going to look really, really nice. There's not hardly, I don't know of any CPUs that you're going to be running very slow. That it starts way down here very fast. Some people might get up to fast if you have a really banging CPU. For example, I have a 32-core AMD processor with 64 threads. I could probably do fast, maybe even medium, maybe. But I could do fast, which would improve it. But the default's very fast. If your computer's struggling to keep up, you could try super fast or ultra fast. If you're only using like 10% of your CPU, you could go up to faster or fast, which would give you better quality. And then you don't even need to worry about this, but you're doing everything right through here. That's what I would recommend. And then that's all you need to set for CPU. Recording, you have type, standard, or custom output. We just want standard. Recording path is where it's going to save your recordings. And if you hit the browse button, it opens up that folder. Generate file name without space. That makes it so the file name that gets generated doesn't have a space in it. Recording format, again, you can do like MP4 right here. You get a warning. This is where I was talking about the remux at the beginning. Recording saved to MP4 or MOV will be unrecoverable if the file cannot be finalized. Example as a blue screen of death, power loss, etc. If you're recording to MP4 or MOV and your power goes out, that whole recording is gone. You can still pull the less quality off of Twitch or YouTube or whatever, but the higher quality file that you're wanting will be gone. Also, if you are wanting to use multiple audio tracks, as I was talking about, then you're going to want to also use MKV as it's just a better option. Audio tracks, this is the same as streaming, except for instead of only being able to select one, you can select up to all 6, or you can deselect up to all 6. For example, maybe you had music on during the stream, but you don't want that when you're actually going to edit the video. You want to use different music. You could, have music record to audio track 3, and then inside of Adobe Premiere, you could just delete that audio track and boom, no more music on that file. if you stream and you pull the video from Twitch later or from YouTube later or from Facebook later, like you download it, everything's on the one audio track, so you cannot separate the stuff later. Let's say maybe your volume, your mic was a little low. You cannot just increase your mic volume. You can only increase either everything or decrease everything. I have all 6 selected because I use all 6. I like having the audio track that also is used for streaming, because that gives me a track that just has everything on it in case it's a quick video. Like I want to do a quick clip or something, and I know all my sounds are perfect. I don't need to remove music. I don't need to change anybody's volumes. Boom, I can just delete everything else, and I got the audio track with everything already on it. And then I'm only working with that one audio track, which makes it easier. Encoder. Again, if you're using NVIDIA NVENC, then you want to, if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you want to use NVIDIA NVENC. If you are using X264, you want to use X24. Again, here's where you can rescale the output specifically for your recording file if you wanted to do that. Again, I would not recommend doing it here. I would recommend doing it in here. If like you wanted 4K, maybe you have your base resolution set to 4K. You want to have this set to 2K, and then your streaming set to 1080p. You could do all that in here by using those 2 boxes. Custom muxer settings. This is something you'll never need to use. Again, rate control, constant bit rate again, just like in streaming, CBR. But here is where we can have a higher bit rate. For example, I have 15,000 kilobytes per second. So it's a lot better quality than 6,000 kilobytes per second, which is really nice. Keyframe interval, this doesn't matter here because you're not uploading it to somewhere directly. So it can be set to leave to 0, which is auto. You could still set it to 2 if you wanted to, but it honestly doesn't matter for a recorded file. And everything else, again, will be exactly the same as streaming. Just the bit rate might be higher or lower, depending on how good of a quality you want. And then boom, audio bit rate. You can increase this if you want. If you have like really high grade like mics and stuff, and you want to have these tracks, making sure that they're picking up the best quality you can. You can click these to higher. Honestly, anything over 192s for live streaming is probably overkill. For your live stream itself, it's probably not going to make any difference. For the recording file, it might make a little bit of a difference going up to like 192, but anything higher than 192 at that point is probably going to be like negligible increase in quality, to where most people, unless they're like an audiophile or something, would not even notice the difference. So, me personally, I leave them all at 160. You're much better getting like a better sounding microphone, like investing in them, than just trying to crank up your bit rates. Also, if you do up those, it is going to take more bit rate, which means you will take away bit rate. Like for Twitch, where you can only do a max of 6,000 at 1080p 60 FPS, that's already kind of low. And so if you increase those, you're going to take more bit rate for your audio, which means it's going to give less for your video. So another thing to think about there. And then you can hit apply, and all of that is saved, and you're good to go there. Audio. So audio sample rate 48 kilohertz. Nowadays, it used to be the default was 44.1. Pretty much everything's at 48 kilohertz now. Channels, you can do stereo, mono, 2.1. You can do all the way up to 7.1. Stereo's, the normal, which what everybody's going to use. Desktop audio. So your desktop audio is going to be your main sound device. So for me, that is Realtek HD audio second output. That is my headphones. That is what my headphones are. You could also have a second desktop audio source. So you might say, well, what would that be? Well, for example, my Oculus Quest 2. Sometimes I live stream that. So maybe I want to set that as a second audio device so that also works when I'm doing it, or whatever. But you can set that here. And then your mic, you can set up to 4 different mics here with the drop down. So for me, my mic is this analog 1+2 Focusrite USB audio, because my microphone's an XLR microphone going into an XLR to USB interface. And so I would select that. Once I select those and hit apply, they are now going to appear in this audio mix I was talking about, and you can see these mics going up and down there. So, and then you can set up hotkeys for enable push to mute for both the desktop audio and the mic, enable push to talk if you wanted to for them. But I would do it under hotkeys and not under here. And then the nice thing is, let's say like we add Oculus. Let me just add like some different things, voice chat. So let's say we add those. Now we have them all here. Let's say you're not using your Oculus Quest. Here in the audio mixer, you can just mute these by clicking the mute icon. So for example, I use Again, my Oculus Quest 2. And then I also use a second mic, which is a lavalier microphone that I use when I'm live streaming VR content, so that I still have a decent sounding mic picking me up, because obviously I'm not in front of this microphone when I'm live streaming VR content. So I can have these muted, have, boom, this is my normal setup, my normal desktop audio, my normal microphone. When I switch to VR, I would mute these and I would unmute these. And then, I'm not going to do it because then I'm going to mute my mic. But then boom, all that's set up. Also, one thing just to quickly mention, if you notice that any of your audio sources are only lighting up on one side, that means you have stereo sound, but you're using a mono device. So like, because I'm using a Focusrite, I'm using a mono device. What you want to do is click on this gear icon, go to advanced audio properties, and select this mono button. That'll then make my microphone appear, because if you don't, then that means the audio is only coming in either their left or their right headphone only, or their right or left speaker only. Then decay rate, that is your how fast your meters. So how fast it goes back down when I stop talking. That's the decay, it goes down. And also the type of peak, true peak or sample peak. So sample is it's like checking every couple of milliseconds, and it's kind of giving you the average of your peaks. True peak is exactly what's happening in real time with like your microphone or your thing. But as you can see, it uses higher CPU usage. There's really no reason to change any of that, honestly. Any of this other stuff, you really don't need to use. Disable Windows audio ducking. You do want to do that because you don't want Windows to automatically be ducking your audio. If you want ducking, you want to set that up yourself inside of OBS. Hotkeys. This is just where you can start hotkeys for everything. If you want to be able to hit a key, I always use Control Shift. So like Control Shift S. So I might use Control Shift S to start and stop my stream. So that just means, instead of having to click start streaming down here, I can just hit Control Shift S. Maybe for recording, I do Control Shift R. Maybe for my microphone, which if we scroll down is right here, mic aux. Maybe I use Control Shift M for both of them. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever I would want those to be, that's just all your different hotkeys you can set for everything. If you want to, even like, for example, to switch to the different scenes, let's say you don't have a stream deck, but you still want to be able to switch between different scenes, you could, do Control Shift 1 for like stream starting, Control Shift 2 for in-game, and vice versa. You can see you can set them here, and that would let you use a hotkey on your keyboard, a key combo to switch to your different scenes and all of that. And then under advanced, you have process priority. If you're using your CPU to stream, I would recommend setting this to above normal, because that means if your CPU starts getting maxed out, OBS gets the priority, which means your stream should stay smooth versus like your game or something getting choppy. Color space 709, it gives better colors. If you want, you can change that to full. It will give you a little bit better colors if people have really nice monitors, but that's up to you. And then right here is where I was talking about automatically remux to MP4. So if you are using MKV and you want it to automatically take that MKV and also make an MP4 file after you click stop recording, you have this checked and it will do that automatically. Here's where you can add a stream delay if you want to add a stream delay. If you're, a popular streamer and you need a stream delay for whatever. Automatically reconnect. That's, all of these are just normal stuff. You don't really need to worry about any of those. And boom, that is everything inside OBS. Everything is set up. Everything is good to go. You can literally just start streaming. Okay, and now, as I said, we will go over Streamlabs real quick. And again, it's pretty much the same as OBS Studio, but there is a couple different changes. So as you can see, when you open it up, it does look slightly different. You don't have all of the start streaming, start recording, start virtual camera, start replay buffer, studio mode, all of that over here on the right. You just have your scenes, just like on the other, just like an OBS. Then you have your sources, and then you have your audio mixer. Your mini feed here, this is built into Streamlabs, and it's using the activity feed from Streamlabs. This is to give you information of when you get a follower, a donation, or whatever. When you hear the alert, you can look over on your second monitor or wherever you have your Streamlabs OBS, and you can see what event just happened. As you guys saw in the OBS Studio, the way that works is with the browser docs, and then you add it into wherever you want to add it. So you have your studio mode there, some of it moved. You have your layout editor. This is just a help thing. This is your settings button, whereas you had the settings thing down here. You also don't have all the file and stuff up here. So you have this little icon up here, which is just like your main feed. And then you also have like an alert box library. So these are just like free themes and stuff that you can use for your alerts and stuff on Streamlabs. So specifically, they have Prime. Some require Prime, and they do have some free ones as well. It looks like all of these require Prime. I thought they had free ones, but maybe not anymore. And then they also have like a goals thing that gives you like information, like where you can set some goals. You can start multi-streaming, but again, you got to have their Prime service, which is a monthly subscription. You have a highlighter, which it allows you to use that replay buffer we were talking about. You can capture a clip, and then at the end of your stream, you can come back here and they basically make a little video for you that you're then able to, upload directly to YouTube or whatever. So, kind of cool. You can also import a clip from it, but there's other services out there that allow that. They have Prime, which gives you like those free alert boxes things and all of that. But the cost is $19 a month or $149 a year. Like I said, that gives you some free overlays. It gives you the ability to multi-stream. I don't know why anybody would pay the $19, but that does open up some features for you. If you click the dashboard button down here, that just takes you to your Streamlabs dashboard, which gives you all the information, your alert box, your widgets, all of that you can set up on Streamlabs. Again, I personally use Stream Elements. I like them better. But pretty much everything else is exactly the same. If we click the settings and go in here, basically some of the advanced settings are missing. They kind of make it a little easier to get things set up for people that might not, know exactly what they're doing. They have like a checkbox, confirm stream title and game before going live, disable live streaming features. So if you're wanting to use record only and you want to make sure you don't accidentally start streaming, you can click that. These are all pretty much the same. Automatically record when streaming's here. Automatically start replay buffer when streaming, that source alignment, whereas if you need to turn that on or off, if you're trying to, get something in an exact spot and it keeps snapping to stuff. In terms of the stream, here you can connect TikTok, Facebook, Trovo, YouTube. You can also add a destination, but again, that takes Prime. You got to pay for the Prime service to add more destinations. Or you can click the stream to, the custom streaming or whatever, just like on the other one. And then where you can import, you can like do your own and import your stream key or whatever. Output, again, you want to go to advanced. It's all pretty much the same. For streaming, you select the audio track. You select your encoder here. CBR 6000, keyframe interval 2. I mean, all the exact same settings. Same with record. It would be all the exact same settings. Same with your audio. I mean, it's all pretty much the same as you can see. When you go to audio here, you have desktop audio 1 and 2. And here, instead of 4 mics, they give you 3, which, is probably plenty enough. Most people only use 1. But anyways, it's there. Video, again, you can set your base canvas resolution, which is the canvas that you're working with inside of the application, as well as scale. If you're wanting to scale both recording and streaming from one page, you can do that here, or you can do it individually back again in the output section here, which actually it looks like they don't allow that here, which is kind of weird. Anyways, you can set all that. You can set your FPS value. Hotkeys, same as before. Advanced, there's that process priority. If you're using CPU, you might want to go to above normal. The default for Streamlabs is still 601. You might want to change that to Rec 709. Again, you can change this partial to full if you want it. It gives you a little bit better color range. I leave it on partial. Either way, it's not going to make that big of a difference. Everything else, pretty much the same. Stream delays, automatically reconnect. Again, this stuff you don't really need. Scene collections, this is just for, overlay designers to export their work for our Steam. So this is not for you. Notifications, these are show notifications. These are the notifications that pop up, like if you're having issues with OBS, like you're dropping script frames or whatever, that'll pop up for you. Again, theme, blah 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 blah. Remote control, this is the free Streamlabs deck app. So this is from your phone. Basically use your mobile phone kind of like a Stream Deck. You can do that. Again, that's built into OBS as well with the Elgato partnership that they have. Virtual webcam, this is experimental feature, says it here. This is in OBS Studio as well. This is just where you can basically make it so that whatever is appearing right here, you can then take that video and use it inside like as a webcam. And that's pretty much it. I mean, again, everything else basically the same. The one thing that you're really getting from Streamlabs OBS that you're not getting from OBS Studio, as I said, is that it is already tied in to Streamlabs alerts and widgets and all of that. Here we are back inside of OBS Studio, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how we would set up a scene and get started, you know, in OBS. The first thing we want to do is we have our scene in game. If you remember, we made the stream starting and the in-game scenes. Basically, all you would do is add all of the different image files and video files that you would need over here in the sources. You don't need a start in soon screen to start streaming, but you do need one scene that has everything that you would need to basically stream and capture your gameplay, have your alerts, the basic stuff. So I'm going to show you how to make that basic starting scene, and then from there, hopefully you can take what you learn and apply it to all the other different scenes that you might want to create, you know, the stream starting, stream ending, all of that stuff. First things first, we have our in-game. I'm going to remove this one. Boom, stream starting. We have our in-game scene here, and what we're going to do is we're going to click this button. So we already have our desktop audio and mic audio coming through because we set those in the settings under this audio tab here. First things first, we want to capture our gameplay. So what we're going to do is add a game capture scene. So create new game capture. So you can name it whatever you want. Game, I'm going to leave it as game capture. I like, you know, that name. If you already have used a game capture, so again, let me click on this for a second. Let me just show you. So let's make a scene 2. So now I hit the plus and I hit game capture again. Now here under the add existing, I already have a game capture that I used in another scene. And that way, like, let's say you make a webcam, you put filters on it, because like me, you're using a green screen and you have filters on that camera or whatever. You can use the add existing, that way you don't have to re-add all those filters and everything, or again, you can create new and you can have different filters on different scenes, whatever you want to do. But if you want to add the existing, whatever you've done to that source in the other scene, it'll then make that happen in the new scene you're working in. I hope that makes sense. So let's go back to our in-game. We have our game capture. When you click OK after you name it, you're going to get popped up with this screen, and you're going to have mode here with the drop-down box, and then you're going to have these options. So basically, you want to leave everything as is. There's no reason to really change it. Here, capture third-party overlays. That might be the only thing that you want to check. That would be like, let's say you have a Discord overlay over your game. Let's say you have Steam overlay, you know, when you hit, you know, Shift and Tab to bring up the Steam overlay. And if you want that stuff to show up on your stream, you could check that. Other than that, everything else should pretty much be the same. What this will do is it'll capture any full screen application. So whenever you launch a game, it'll now get captured inside of OBS. The only difference would be is if you right click on this and go to properties, sometimes a specific game might not be full screen. Maybe you're playing in borderless window, or maybe you're playing in windowed, or maybe for whatever reason, OBS is just not picking up your game. Then what you need to do is you need to come back here. So again, you right click on game capture, go to properties, and you want to click capture specific window. When you do that, everything's going to change here. Main thing that you're going to want to do is you have a new drop down box for window where you can actually then select. So you can see, like, here's, you know, I don't have any applications open, but, you know, I have Streamlabs OBS off screen recording, you know, screen capturing me working in OBS Studio. And so I could, you know, capture that inside of here, click that and click OK, which would then capture that window specifically. So if you need to do that, like, your game would basically be listed here under this window, whatever game it is that you're doing. But most games, you playing in full screen. If you have this capture any full screen application, no matter what game you go to, it should automatically capture it and bring it in. The other thing to notice is once you then have a source, you have a lock button here and you have an eyeball button. The lock button makes it so that nothing can be changed on this particular source. The eye button is you can make it hidden or visible. So let's say, for example, let's add our next thing. So we have our game capture. Now our game is going to be captured if we launch a game. And maybe I should launch a game to show you guys real quick.
A few moments later.
We now have Golf with Friends open up in the background, and we have our game capture here. This is not being picked up by OBS Studio, which is what I was talking about a minute ago, and I did that on purpose so that I can show you guys how you would do that. So if we go right click on this and go back to properties, again, we can change this to capture a specific window, and now under the window we see right here Golf with Friends. Click OK. And boom, there it is. As you can see, it's too big for my screen, so I can right click on it, go to the transform, which we talked about before, fit to screen, boom. I'm running the larger monitor, 3440, the ultra wide monitor, 3440 by 1440. So because I am, it looks like this. It's like small in the middle of my screen because I have black bars literally on my screen. So what I can do is I can click on game capture, which brings up this red thing, and I can drag these over to make it larger. For most of you running in a normal 16:9 monitor, so 1080p, 1440p, 4K resolution, whatever, it should fill up your entire black screen. It's only weird for me because I am using an ultra wide monitor, so I had to do some different stuff. The next thing you might want to add is display capture, which allows you to capture your desktop. Instead of display capture, I'm going to name it desktop capture. So capture method, automatic. And then if you have multiple displays, here under the display option, you can select which display you want to capture. And now you can see I have Streamlabs off on the other monitor that I'm currently recording with. So now what this allows you to do is whether you want to capture a game or your desktop, you can now do so. So let's say you have your game capture to any full screen application. What you would want to do is basically have one or the other visible and the other one hitting. So if you're wanting to capture your desktop, you would select your desktop to be shown, and you would make sure the eye is, grayed out with the line through it for your game capture. Now let's say, okay, you're watching some YouTube videos. Now you're going to get into gaming. You launch your game. You would hide your desktop capture. You would unhide your game capture. And so now you might say, well, why can't I just use desktop capture all the time? When my game pops up, it'll capture everything. You can, but some games, a lot of games, perform better if you use game capture. If you use display capture, you might get lag sometimes in OBS Studio or even Streamlabs. It doesn't matter whether you're using OBS Studio or Streamlabs OBS. You might get lag sometimes, or you might get less frames in your game because it's using more resources to do the desktop capture than the game capture. So whatever the case, game capture just sometimes performs better. Sometimes desktop capture performs better. And then what we want to do is we want to add our webcam. So we're going to hit the plus button and we're going to click video capture device. And that's going to have, again, create select source, create new because we haven't added it yet. We're going to name it webcam instead of video capture device. That way we know what it is. We're going to click OK. We're going to have this pop up, and you're going to see device CamLink 4K. Because I'm already using the the CamLink 4K in Streamlabs OBS, I can't bring it up inside of OBS Studio. But luckily for you guys, I also have a C920 here that I can click on to show you guys what we're working with. So we can click that, and then here you have deactivate, which just turns basically it on and off. Which you can also, again, use that eyeball. Configure video allows you to adjust some settings like your brightness and stuff for your webcam, your contrast. If you want to, make it pop a little bit, you can adjust that. So that, that's where you adjust all of that. That's what configure video does. Your white balance, everything you can take off auto and you can adjust it too. I've done a full video on how to make your webcam look the best. That's already exists on the YouTube channel. I'll link it down in the description below, as well as I have one for how to make your mic sound better, all of that different stuff. So I will add those things down in the description below, and you can look at those or you can check those out, which goes over kind of how to set all this different stuff if you're using a webcam or anything like that. So the other thing you have is you have your resolution FPS type. You can change this from default to custom if you want to make sure that you get your full resolution of 1920 by 1080. And again, highest FPS or 30. 30 is the highest the C920 does. So, if you go back to default, you can see it's not the full 1080p resolution that I'm getting. So if you want that full resolution of your webcam, you're going to want to go to a custom resolution and select the resolution you want. And everything else can pretty much be the same depending on what side. So you can see here I have this going off of my left side. So let's say I put my webcam Let me, again, using these, we have the webcam down here selected. I can then use this thing to change it. So let's say we add the webcam and I have it down here. Well, let's say I want to put it on this side of my screen. As you can see, the bar goes out here. It looks kind of funny. If you right click on this and go to that transform again, you have the flip horizontal, which you can do if you need to, if it looks better one way or the other. We are going to put it back on the left side, right there. So once you have it added in and you go, it's going to come out. If you select 1080p and you have a 1080p canvas, it's going to come out full screen. Let's say we have desktop capture and I go up here and do this. Oh, nothing happened. That's because what I really did is made my desktop smaller because that's what I had selected. So we go back, make sure webcam selected in the source. We can make that as big as small we want. We can move it anywhere on our screen by clicking and dragging. So now we have our webcam added, we have a desktop capture, and we have a game capture. So what else do we need? Well, you don't need anything else. I mean, you could basically stream with just this setup right here. You could then hit the start streaming button and you're good to go. But one other thing we might want to do is add our stream alerts. So whether that's Streamlabs or Stream Elements, we might want to add those in. So again, the way that you add that is by clicking browser source. And what you want to do is it's going to come up. You can name it. So we can name it alerts and click OK. And then you can see here, you got it. When you do that, you're then presented with a URL box, a width box, and a height box. And then you can set a custom frame rate if you want. You can control, which you don't really need. The main thing you're going to need is to change this URL and set the width and height if you want to. So for now, we're going to click OK. We need to grab our URL that we need. So if you go to Streamlabs or Stream Elements, I'm going to use Streamlabs. So here, alert box you have. So when you click this right here, you have click to copy widget URL. So it's under alert box. This is the URL that you need to put into this box so that then your alerts will pop up on your live stream. So the thing is, this URL contains sensitive information. It should not be shared with other users or sites. Okay, so actually first, we're going to click to copy this. We're going to click copy. So we now have our URL. So in Stream Elements, let me show you where that is, Stream Elements. First, you need to make an overlay. Under the streaming tools, you have Overlays Gallery, which has free themes and alerts and stuff you can use, widgets. What you're going to want to do is click My Overlays and click New Overlay, which is going to bring up an overlay editor, which allows you to then create. You can do your resolution. You can do 720, 900p, 1080p, 1440p, or custom. So you're going to select, we're doing a 1080p canvas. We're going to do that. And then you're going to want to add a widget. You're going to want to add alerts and alert box. So this then gives you, boom, you have your follower alert, your subscriber alerts. You can check which ones you want, a purchase alert, a rate alert, or so it's all of your different alerts. You can click the gear icon, which is where you can set the images, like all of your stuff. Once you do that, you're going to have up here in the top right, this copy URL button. This URL is the URL that you need in order to put into OBS from here. We can do like a tip event, like just to emulate, boom. That's what it's going to look like, the overlay. So if we add that, overlay name, alerts, and we'll hit save. So now we have that. We copy the URL. So I'll show you. We put that, we go back here. So again, with Streamlabs, I'll show you how to get that URL. We go to properties. We input the URL here, and then we give it again, we're doing 1920 by 1080. So we put in the correct resolution. We hit OK. Boom. It is now full screen. And now if we go back over here, I'm going to drag this off screen for a minute. You can see now if I do an emulate again, and I do a tip event, you can see it pop up, boom, right here on the thing. And obviously you can move that around. So I'm showing you here. This is my 1080p. So let's say, where you see all these like dots, this whole area is your canvas basically in here. So let's say you want it in the middle there. You can drag it to the middle. And now if we do an emulate, there you go. Now it's in the middle. And again, you might have to drag it around to get the exact, but that's how you add that. So let's make one more browser source and add chat. We'll name it. And again, we want to create new. We don't want to add existing because we want a new one and we want to click OK. And then we want to get our chat URL. So let's see. So we have right here the chat URL. I use restream again to multi-stream, so we're showing that. I still have the desktop view hide because I don't want to show this URL, but we do that. Boom, paste this, and then because we want to give it a width and a height. So width, maybe we want to do 600. Height, maybe we want to do 400, and then boom, we hit OK, and we now have our chat box in here. And again, let's say, you do it if you try to adjust by having the source selected with the red things, you can see, because we set that, we already have the height and the width set. So let's say, you don't want it that. So maybe we want actually 400 by 600 the other way around. Boom. Now it's more up and down. We can have that in the top right of our screen. We have our alerts going. So you can see we have two sources. They both have the little globe icon next to them, which stands for browser source. We have our webcam, which has a little camera icon next to it. We have our desktop capture, which I can show again here. So, you can see, boom, we're capturing our desktop. We have our chat over here. We have our game capture. And to get it, if it's on Twitch, just to show you real quick, if we go to twitch.tv/OMG, it's Derek TV. That's my, obviously, URL. And we go right here to the chat box. What you want to do to get it off of here, or this is, again, works for YouTube or anything. I'm just showing you on Twitch, even though I said you should stream to YouTube. If you click here on the options, there is a pop out chat option. You have this option on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. When you click this, it then gives you the URL here, which you can then, again, take right here, our chat source. We're going to click properties. Boom, we can click that. And boom, now you have your Twitch chat in here. So now the only problem when you, do that through Twitch or YouTube or whatever is it's going to show the entire thing. So another way you can do this is, again, if you are using Streamlabs or Stream Elements or whatever. So Streamlabs, for example, when we go to our dashboard, they have in here also, under all widgets, a chat box. So the chat box, basically, again, you can choose different themes. And then you have a widget here that you can click so that when we paste it in here, now you can see it is a transparent chat. Like the first one I put in, it doesn't show all that extra information. But when someone types in your Twitch chat, you're the best streamer. Okay, and you can see it all pops up here. So now we have our chat. We have our alerts that pop up if someone follows or subscribes or donates or whatever. We have our webcam set up that we can see down here in the bottom of the screen. And we have our desktop and game capture. Now, that's pretty much everything that you would need basic-wise to get up and running. So the last thing I want to show you is, let's say you want to use like some type of overlay or you create like a webcam border or something like that. The only other main things that you might need here is you can add an image by clicking this image button if you want a specific image loaded up. So for example, if I want to, I'm going to leave an image and I'm going to hit browse. Go to my live stream OBS things. And like here, let's say I have this one that we're going to add and we're going to hit OK. This was basically, and again, I'm going to right click, transform, fit to screen. So this was basically like a thing I had where I had my webcam in this little part, like here. And so like I had like my desktop in here. Like this is, I use this overlay for when I'm playing like mobile games on like an emulator like BlueStacks or something. But you can see then you have an overlay. So that's for an image. Now the other thing you might want to do, let me delete that, is webcam. Let me put that back in the bottom left. Desktop capture will fit back to screen by going to transform. So the only other thing is like if it's a video file, you want to use media source. So we'll do like webcam border. We'll click OK. We'll browse. We're looking for a local file. Synthwave overlay. That's what I use. Synthwave overlay. Individual files. Webcam. We'll do magenta and blue. We need webcam 16.9. That's what I use. Then we're going to hit OK. So now you can see right here we have a little webcam border. Oh, I know what it is. So, okay, so go back to properties. So sometimes there's a loop button here. You got to make sure you hit the loop button. That way it keeps going. All right, there we go. So now if you look at that, this is animated. It's a video file. So you'll see like it's magenta, and then you'll see kind of a blue little thing go across it right there. It's just a little animation. And you can add that. So again, webcam border. Maybe we want that at like the bottom of our webcam. Maybe you have one that goes completely around your webcam, whatever the case. So again, let me Control Z to undo that. Let me moving it. So let me move my webcam. Like let's say we had it up here. Let me move my webcam border. Okay, and then boom. So now like we have our little webcam border. Again, maybe you make one or buy one or get one that goes around your entire thing, whatever the case may be. But you would add that in using the media source or any other video that you wanted to add in or anything like that. That's like your start and soon screens, all of that. So just real quick, if we did like start and soon screen and then we do plus and we add a media source. And we'll add a background. So like maybe we're making our start and soon screen and we need a background. So here's like background loops for this one. So like for mine, for example, this is what we're using. Again, we want to select loop and we want to click OK. So you can see that was like the one I was using on mine. And then obviously we would add in our other stuff. Again, you have, you can lock things once you have it. That way you can't see if it's locked, you can't like move it on your screen or anything. So it helps you not accidentally move stuff. But, there we go. We could do that. So that's basically everything you would need to know to get started. The last thing I want to show you is, as I said, maybe you don't want to have your game capture and your desktop capture on the same one. What we're going to want to do is right click on scenes and click duplicate. And then it's going to add a scene and we got to enter a name. Let's name game capture. So now we have desktop capture and game capture under our scenes, and they have the exact same thing. But now we can go to the game capture. We can delete this desktop capture, as you can see here. Everything else still stays. Our chat box, our webcam border, our alerts are still on there. Now we can hit the plus button and click game capture here. And we can name it game capture 2. And then we can do, again, capture any full screen. Boom. And now we have it here. Now, the only other thing that we want to do is you can see when you add something, it goes to the top. If you remember, you have these up and down arrows. That is how you set your layers. So you have layers. So, for example, let me show you an example. So here we have desktop capture. So we have our webcam border, our webcam, our chat, our overlays, our alerts or whatever. So let's say we start moving our desktop capture up. Oh, it's now above the webcam. So now we don't see our webcam. It's still there, but because our desktop capture is above our webcam, it's a top layer. It's a layer above the webcam. The webcam is now hidden behind our desktop capture. You can see, though, our webcam border is still showing because it's at the top, so it's still above the desktop layer. So you got to make sure you have everything set. So when we added game capture, it's up here. We want to make sure it's at the bottom so that everything else is displaying on top of it and is not hidden behind it. And that's everything you need to know to get your OBS set up. And then you can literally hit start streaming and you're good to go. All right. And there you have it. That is how you go from knowing nothing about streaming to knowing everything you would need to know to get started and setting up your own live stream. We walked you through everything that you needed to know in terms of what software you need, how to choose that software or which software I think you should be using, all the different options in the software all the different settings that you need to know in OBS Studio, as well as Streamlabs OBS to get started streaming, as well as how to set up all of your different scenes and sources. So you should literally be able to go from nothing to you now have a basic scene, basic sources, and you can hit the start streaming button and start streaming, get started on your streaming career. Obviously, there's a lot more you can do inside of OBS, a lot more things you can do inside your scenes and sources, but this at least gets you the basics of having your gameplay show up or your desktop, having your webcam, as well as your chat on screen and your alerts on screen, which is kind of the basics of what you need if you're going to choose to start streaming. And with that said, if this video did help you out, please make sure you smash that like button. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button for more streaming tutorials and streaming help videos when it comes to streaming, as well as tech videos and tech reviews and microphone reviews, camera reviews, all that different stuff that might help you in your content creation and streaming career, And thank you again for watching. I hope this masterclass helped you out. If there's other stuff you'd like to see me do tutorials on, leave a comment down in the comments below. I would be happy to do more tutorials and stuff for you guys. But that's going to wrap up this one. Thank you again for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, night, whatever it is for you. And I will see you guys in the next one. Till then, peace out, everybody. Later, nerds.